What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Happy Thursday. I'm Hayley Lewis, and this is Chiefs News Daily. Honestly, I hope you're not even watching. I hope you are at Kauffman Stadium enjoying opening day. Actually, I take that back. Please watch, please like and subscribe on the KCSN YouTube channel. But we got a fun episode coming your way today, talking with Patrick Allen, the perfect combination of two quarterback names just thrown together. A great interview coming your way, talking through mock draft picks, the NFL draft, the picks that the Chiefs have, all that jazz wrapped up with free agency and a look ahead to next year. All right, make sure you like and subscribe, and let's get this interview rolling. Patrick, welcome to the show. Number one, you have the right name here in Kansas City, and you have the right logo already, so you're already winning with our audience.
Yeah, you know, I've got the right first name, but my last name is Allen, and our listeners over at Arrowhead Addict give me some business about that every once in a while when we're playing the Bills.
Wow, Patrick Allen. Could you imagine the combination of a Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen together? Be very lethal. So you are at least in good name standing.
That's true.
But appreciate you again taking the time to be on the show. We'll dive right into it. It's been a tame week in Kansas City. Now, obviously, they've done some good moves in the free agency so far, and things are naturally going to get a little quiet as we inch closer and closer to the NFL draft. So from an outsider's perspective, just looking at what Brett Veach has been able to do so far with the acquisition that they brought in, what are you thinking? I mean, he's not probably done, but so far, what do you think that he's done so far?
Yeah, I think the big moves outside of maybe an off-the-wall trade that nobody's expecting, I think they're done. I think he's done the best he can with what he had to work with this offseason. There are obviously cap constraints. I really like them bringing in Christian Fulton at the cornerback position. I think that's going to enable Trent McDuffie to move back into the slot and do what he does best. They needed depth at that position. Hollywood Brown coming back is great. I think they got him for a bargain. They got him for like $7 million. You got guys like Tutu Atwell getting $10 million. So I think Brown's a better receiver. I think that was a great get for the Chiefs. And then I like Gardner Minshew coming to the backup quarterback. He'll bring a little bit of fun to the quarterback room, but he fits the like Andy Reid, Brett Veach profile as a backup quarterback. Lots of starts, lots of experience. He's a veteran. As far as Jalen Moore, offensive tackle, we'll see. If it works out, it's a great move. If it doesn't, we could be in trouble.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, though, saying that they've done the best they can with the cap constraint, having very limited money, having to make some big trades to even move some of that money around. And obviously, I think the hardest thing for maybe Chiefs fans is to realize that for once, except for with the exception of after Super Bowl 55 against Tampa Bay, they didn't really ever have huge offseason issues to fix. And maybe this would be the first offseason where it's really a challenge that maybe not everything is necessarily going to be perfectly wrapped up with a bow by the time we get to training camp. So I like what you said. Jalen Moore, that is the iffy one. They are investing in him financially, and we'll have to see what happens. Now, that kind of brings me to the NFL draft. Right now, they have 8 picks. We'll see how it all goes down when we get to Green Bay. Do you foresee Kansas City, again, for the third consecutive year, going after another offensive tackle to maybe try to throw him in the mix?
I think only if somebody falls to them that they really like. It's just not a very good tackle draft. So yeah. I just don't think it makes sense for them to take a guy that's a second or third round pick again and hope that like they've got a couple of those guys on the roster right now. I think they'd be better served to continue to try to develop them. And look, there's a guy out of Ohio State, Josh Simmons. I really like him. Some people think his arms are too short. There was an injury issue last year, but you know, if I think if a guy like that, if they really like him, if they think he could slide into that left tackle spot at some point, and he falls into whatever Brett Veach determines the trade range is for the Chiefs, like maybe into the like low 20s, I could see them maybe, because this is a huge issue for them, and Jawan Taylor could be out the door next year. So then you could need 2 tackles. I could see them doing it, but I think probably what's likely to happen is those guys are gone. There are tackle needy teams ahead of them, and they're just going to stand pat and probably take the best player available.
I do want to ask you about Simmons, though. He's a name that continues to be brought up in every single round of the mock drafts that keep coming out. You did mention his knee injury. That probably is hindering him or maybe making his draft capital, fall a little bit lower. But you also said it's best available. So whether that's him or a wide receiver or a defensive tackle or whatever falls Kansas City's way, it kind of just is what it is on the draft board. But tell me, you were at the NFL Combine, correct? What stood out to you about Simmons?
I was not at the Combine, but I'm an Ohio State fan. You may be able to see the Ohio State helmet over my shoulder. So I'm a little bit biased, but he's really athletic guy. He's smooth in and out of his stance. I think that he could fit well into the way that the Chiefs like to play offensive line. But again, the problem is he had the injury, so he was improving every year, but then he has the injury. I think it was in October. So he didn't really get to have that. And of course, they go on to win the national championship. He didn't get to really put that last year of tape together. So it could hurt him. But I think should he fall far enough, he may need a year of seasoning. Well, the Chiefs have already got a potential answer at left tackle. Funny enough, Lance Zierlein over at NFL.com, his comp for Simmons is DJ Humphries. So, Humphries is a guy that the Chiefs liked enough to bring into the building. So he's somebody to keep an eye on. Again, there's a lot of tackle needy teams, and with there not being much depth, I wouldn't be surprised if he's long gone by the time we get into the 20s. But if he's there and Brett Veach feels like he could be the guy to solve their issue, come in on a rookie contract, and they have a year to work with him, they may make a move up for him.
All right, we will have to wait and see. Some other positions I mentioned just earlier being thrown around: defensive tackle, wide receiver. Obviously, Kansas City most likely not going to get a running back in the first round, but even a great running back class that potentially they can get someone later on in the draft. Is there any other position group that you think Kansas City has absolutely have to target with some of their picks in the draft?
Look, I think everyone is saying that this is a deep class at defensive interior. So there are a lot of guys that I think, and the Chiefs, that's been a long-standing need. They've sort of been, outside of Chris Jones, they've just been kind of spare parts guys who have played well for them, but they've been rotating guys in. It'd be good for them to get some youth and some athleticism there at the defensive interior. So I think there's a number of guys that they could look at. You mentioned, I think, running back. This is also a deep running back class. So I'm a big Cam Skadaboo guy. I know he's a little bit controversial, but I just think he fits the mold of a kind of, Andy Reid offensive player that can do a lot of different things. He's somebody that could be available later in the draft where the Chiefs wouldn't need to reach for another first-round running back. I know a lot of Chiefs fans are scared about that, but either the Ohio State running backs that could be available there, and Judkins and Travion Henderson could be really interesting. It kind of all depends on how the board falls. Are these running backs there for them in the third? One thing that's a little bit of a downside, I think, for the Chiefs this year is I love when the draft has a lot of top quarterback prospects, because the Chiefs don't need a quarterback. So if 5 quarterbacks go in the first round, that's just pushing talent at other positions back to the end of the first round for the Chiefs. I don't think you're going to have that this year. So the Chiefs are going to have to really, kind of go bargain shopping and see if there are values at certain positions and try to get good startable players there.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenging draft. It's a unique draft as well. And I think that, especially when I was at the Combine going through just the different position groups, coming down to it's not really the best hand per se for Kansas City, for their situation specifically. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. I do want to speak with you, though, about just the AFC picture. Maybe we can even say overall NFL picture, as Kansas City is trying to prove, to me, my perspective, and I might be a little biased in this, but I feel like this is a really, really telling year for the Chiefs to prove to the rest of the league that what they did for the past 6-7 seasons, it's not just this little fluke. It's actually going to build into some dynastic run. Patrick Mahomes isn't actually declining. They're going to continue to be back at the big stage. So maybe from your perspective, do you think Kansas City has enough juice to get back, or is this the beginning of the decline?
Nah, there's not going to be a decline. This is the same team. They'll have almost the exact same roster, a very similar roster to what they had last year, and that team won 15 games. And I know they won a lot of one-score games, but that's what happens when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback and a Hall of Fame coaching staff. You're going to come out on top more often than not, because those are huge X factors in the NFL. And games in the NFL are close anyway. Everybody's playing close games. So the fact that they didn't blow people out doesn't really concern me. They've won a Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowls, with some of these players and then made it back to a Super Bowl, and the Eagles played out of their minds. But like, I think a lot of people are stuck on that heartbreaking Super Bowl loss and the way it went down. I was there in the stadium. Believe me, I was not happy. But the Eagles played out of their minds, and I think everybody forgets, like 2 weeks earlier, the Chiefs beat a very good Buffalo Bills team. The Chiefs were not a bad football team last year. That's just confirmation bias from the Eagles game for people that were hating on the Chiefs all year. So they're a really good team. They construct a really good team roster. As far as the Patrick Mahomes decline stuff, I mean, look at who he had last year. Travis Kelce was aging. They lose Rice really early in the season. Xavier Worthy was a rookie. They had Juju Smith-Schuster running around out there. Like, for goodness sake, like, I know maybe he's missing some opportunities in the deep ball and they need to open things up. But when you look at this offense heading into next year, if you're going to have Rice for most of the season, you're going to have year 2 of Xavier Worthy. You hopefully will have Hollywood Brown not injured all year. What they constructed last year for this offense, we really never got to see last year, and they still went all the way to the Super Bowl. So I feel really good about this team. Yes, they've got issues to figure out, but this is a veteran coaching staff, and they usually do figure it out.
All right, folks, thanks again. That wraps us up for another episode of Chiefs News Daily. Make sure you like and subscribe right here on the KCSN YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your Thursday, and I'll see you back here on Friday.